Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here, and I don't know if you've noticed, but my videos are now being shot in 4K, so go ahead and go change that setting to 4K and click that thumbs up button while you're at it. But anyways, it's time for my final video in my iPhone 7 Plus 2-week challenge, and I'm going to end it with a full review of the iPhone 7 Plus. So I've been using it for 2 weeks now. I have a lot to say about it. If you missed my previous videos throughout the 2 weeks, I'll link to them below. They're all in one playlist. Go check them out. I also do want to mention that I am mainly an Android phone user, and I think that gives me a bit of a different perspective on iPhones in general, and I think that's why you guys appreciate these types of reviews and these types of challenges. Now, no, I do not hate Apple in any way, so you don't have to worry about me just disliking a device to dislike it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Apple's latest flagship, the iPhone 7 Plus, starts at $770 at the 32 gigabyte model, and then also they skipped 64 gigabytes and went straight to 128 gigs, and then also all the way up to 256 gigabytes. In terms of design, there aren't any major differences on the surface. There are a few changes though. Taking a close look at the 7 Plus, you'll see you have your dual 12 megapixel cameras on the back, your LED flash as well. More on that in a little bit. You have your Apple logo, and then moving all the way down to the bottom here, you have what looks like two speaker grills. However, sound only comes out one of them. The other one is for symmetry and also holds the microphone as well. And you have your lightning connector slot. Now, when you look at the top of the device, of course, you see no headphone jack either, and that is because they did not include one. So there is no headphone jack. I do have a video talking about that separately. I'll link to that down below. Now, when you look at the sides of the device, you have your volume rockers on the left side and your silent switch. So you can put the switch on and it silences the device completely, gives you a little vibrate notification, lets you know. And I never accidentally have activated this, which is great. It's not necessarily difficult to do, but it does not activate itself in your pocket on accident, and you don't miss any calls that way. Now, on the right side here is just simply your power button, and overall, the feeling of the device is just very premium. So it looks really great. I do have a slick wrap on it, just to kind of give it some protection as well. And one other awesome thing to note about the device is that it is rated IP67 certified, so it is water and dust resistant as well. Here's a look at the front with your home. It's not necessarily a button, it's actually just a capacitive switch that vibrates when you press it. More on that in a second. And then up at the top here, you have another speaker. Your earpiece actually couples as a stereo speaker. So it is in conjunction with that bottom speaker up at the top to make actually a very good sounding device. I've been very pleased with the speaker. It gets very loud and it is still very clear when it's turned all the way up. Something else very noteworthy about the stereo speakers on this device is how quiet they get. Not only do they get very loud, they also get very quiet. So if you're laying in bed and want to watch a YouTube video like I am right now, listen, it's on one notch and you can barely hear it. I'll turn it up a few. And that's when you can kind of start hearing it. So not only does it get very loud,
When I actually pick it up, I'll set my thumb on the home button.
very loud and full, it also gets very quiet as well. You also have a 7 megapixel front-facing camera as well. Now, when it comes to that home button, it actually couples as a fingerprint scanner as well. And when you press it, it does a little bit of a vibrate, which you can have a light, middle, and strong vibrate as well. So when you press it, it unlocks it. Now, when it comes to the fingerprint scanner, it's very accurate. It's very quick. It is one of the best fingerprint scanners out there right now. And of course, what I find myself doing is if you just set it on there when you are on the lock screen, you'll see it says unlocked up at the top. Then you can go ahead and interact with notifications, and then you can go ahead and interact with your widgets that you have in your lock screen as well. More on software towards the end of the video. And then when you click the button, it will actually unlock your screen. So there's actually no way to unlock it by swiping on the display unless you interact with the notification. Otherwise, you have to physically press the button, your home button, which actually will unlock the device. Overall, I do really like the feeling of this button. It's different. You may or may not like it. I personally do like it. And then when it comes down to no headphone jack, like I said, I have a full video on it, but to me, it's just an inconvenience. Simply, it's just kind of annoying at times when you forget to bring your adapter, which they include. The lightning headphone earpods for me just don't work. They do include those though, which is nice. However, it's just an inconvenience. You don't want to carry around an adapter. I find myself using Bluetooth in my car more often. And that's pretty much it. So it's not as big of a deal as everyone's making it seem like. Moving along, I'd like to talk about display on the iPhone 7 Plus. Now, they went with a 5.5 inch size on the Plus, and then it is actually only a 1080p display. In terms of displays, you would expect a 1440p display, especially at that price point, especially it being it being a flagship device, and more and more of that content is actually coming out now, especially on YouTube. This is actually a 4K video, but obviously you can only see it in 1080p because of the display. But anyways, it is a great 1080p IPS LCD display. Overall, viewing angles are great, and then of course it gets very bright out in the sun. I have no issues watching it and watching the display, watching videos in direct sunlight at all. But just kind of wish they would include a 1440p display. I'm a little puzzled why they would not actually upgrade the display to 1440p. You also see in display settings, you have a display zoom option where you can look at it standard or zoomed. So things will look zoomed in overall. Now I keep mine on standard, and there's also a great option called night shift, where if you swipe up, you can activate night shift, and it gives it a tint. This is for when you're looking at it, looking at your device at night. It's just going to be easier on your eyes, and you can change the color temperature if you'd like it more warm, less warm. So if you're watching a video, playing a game, laying in bed, then you can go ahead and activate night shift so it's a little bit easier on your eyes. And you can schedule it so it turns off maybe at 7 a.m. right when you wake up. That way it's not enabled when you wake up. Now, also one more notable thing is raise to wake, which is fantastic. I honestly want this on every device, to be completely honest, because it works so well. That's another thing. It needs to work well. I want it on every device, but I also want it to work well, which Apple has done with this device. Every single time. There has not been one instance where I looked at my phone and the display hasn't turned on. As you can see right there, even when it's sitting on there, it just knows the correct angle, uses the accelerometer in the device. Even when you have it flipped like this, if I flipped it up, it should actually activate the display, which it does. And when I pull it out of my pocket, it is always working, and it's just been great. So Raise to Wake is a nice addition to the iPhone. Now I want to go ahead and talk about that dual 12 megapixel camera on the iPhone 7 Plus, which actually is something that the iPhone 7 does not have. So that is a difference. So let's go ahead and open up the camera app, and to do so you can do it in a few ways. One is by the icon, of course. Another way is swiping up on any screen, and you'll see there's a quick shortcut to the camera, which opens it up right away. And then of course you can actually 3D touch on this icon as well to activate a few options. More on 3D touch when I get the software. And finally, the last way to open up the camera is on your lock screen. You can just swipe over and it opens up that icon really quick. And also make note of how quick it opens up. It really does not lag at all when you open up that camera. It loads up right away. Now in terms of shutter speed, it is very quick. Very little shutter lag at all. Does a good job at focusing quick as well. So you'll see I'll go ahead and focus right there, quick, snap a quick picture. And you'll also notice after you focus, there's an icon that changes your exposures. If you want a little brighter, a little darker, you can do that very quickly and then snap a quick picture. Now let's take a look at the camera app in general. Now you go ahead and you have a flash right here. You have HDR mode, auto on or off right there. And then of course you have live photos, which I don't use too often. Let's go ahead and take a live photo. So if I snap a picture, there's no motion actually. I need to move. So if I snap a picture and you'll see my hands moving, let's go to that picture, and then if you 3D touch on it, it will activate sound and motion just for a short clip. That's been around for a little while now, but personally I just don't use live photos very often, and I just don't have it on. It just takes up a little bit more space than I need. You have a timer and then also some filters as well. So a bunch of various filters, which I pretty much never use. I just don't use camera filters. Now something that I dislike about this camera app is all of these modes right here. To switch, you can actually swipe on the display like so, or you can tap on them to quickly switch between them. But you'll see if you're on time lapse and then you want to switch over to panorama, there's really no way to quickly do it unless you just do it that way. And that took a lot of steps. So that's just kind of one downside to it, is you would have to quickly swipe or quickly tap on them. So there's no quick way to see them all in one list. Now with that being said, there's also 2x optical zoom. So if I want to zoom in on an object, let's go ahead and put chapstick right there, and you tap on this and you'll see 2x zoom. So you're not really going to lose any image quality, and it does have optical image stabilization. However, of course, when you zoom in a little bit, you want to make sure you hold the camera very still, otherwise it may get a little blurry. But overall, the pictures taken in 2x zoom have been great. I'll show you some pictures in a little bit. I mean, the quality's been great. This is a great lighting scenario. But as you can see, it's great that you can quickly switch between 1 and 2x zoom. Of course, you can pinch in and do more for some digital zoom if you'd like to, but you can quickly zoom in and out with that button. Something else I really dislike just about the OS in general on stock apps such as the camera, messaging, your phone, there's no quick way to get into settings for the camera. So let's say I want to shoot a video, and I want to shoot a 4K video, and then I kind of want to maybe one time want to switch over to a 1080p 60 frames per second video. To do so, there's no quick way to jump into settings. You have to press the home button. You have to go into settings. You have to scroll down. You have to find photos and camera, and then that is where all of your camera settings are. And it's such a pain. So if you see all the way down, scroll down even more, there's where I can record video and change all of that. And of course, you can record slow-mo. You can change those settings as well. So you can't really do that very quickly. You have to go all the way into a different app. And you'll see that's the same for music, for videos. You have your phone app, your messaging app. That's where all the settings are within this. And there's no quick way to do so. See, when I swipe up here, there's no setting shortcut. I don't understand why they don't add a quick shortcut to setting right in one of these menu options. Now, for a couple pictures I took, this was in a low light scenario, and the camera did a great job and made it look like not a low light scenario, but trust me, it definitely was darker than it looks in this picture, and the quality turned out very good. The detail on pretty much everything, it doesn't get too grainy overall, so it does a great job on low light photography. Now, when it comes to good lighting scenarios, it does an amazing job. So here's one. You'll see you can zoom in on it. However, it does have that optical zoom. So I took this picture and then zoomed in, and you'll see this is just a zoomed in look. And of course, you can get just more detail on it when you zoom in. So now here's another example when you're close up on this plant. I can swipe over and check out all of the detail on this picture. Fantastic. And that's just with zooming in. And then, of course, taking pictures of moving objects. This car is moving, maybe going about 20, 25 miles an hour. You'll see you got a couple pictures there. These are all moving cars, at least not the ones parked, but this car is actually moving. And then here's just a still picture. Nothing was moving here. And then, of course, it's great because when you have that optical zoom, if you take a picture like this, you seem so far away. And then if you zoom in a little bit, it gives just more detail and, of course, gets a bit of a close-up. So it's just a nice addition to the camera, that 2x optical zoom. One more you'll see out here. And then zoomed in, of course, for more detail as well. So all in all, definitely, I think my favorite camera right now on a smartphone, the iPhone 7 Plus. I think it has been my favorite. The quality in low light, bright light, just all lighting situations has been fantastic. The addition of optical zoom with those dual lenses just works well. Moving along, I'd like to talk about battery life on the iPhone 7 Plus, which is going to be better on this device than the regular iPhone 7. Now, it has a 2900 milliamp hour battery, which may seem a little bit small to some of the Android people, which are used to a little bit over 3000 milliamp hours. Now, with that being said, Apple has done a very great job at optimizing their hardware and software. Their battery life is very good. One of the best out there right now, at least on the iPhone 7 Plus. Their standby time is ridiculous. If I don't use my phone, if I accidentally forget to plug it in, you really don't have to worry about it draining a ton of battery. So it does a good job at standby time and just battery life in general when you're using the device a lot. It's definitely one of the best out there right now. I've been very pleased. Now, screen on time is not really a metric, but if I kind of had to do a guess, in comparison to other Android devices, my average is maybe around 4 hours, maybe a little bit over 4 hours on average on the Android devices that I use. I would say I probably would get close to 5 hours on the iPhone 7 Plus. So good job, Apple. Good battery life. Now, moving along, I want to talk about performance of this device. Now, Apple has their own A10 Fusion chip. As you can see, when I'm playing a game right now, it seems very smooth. This is a more high-end game, Asphalt 8. And you can use 3D Touch on it as well to actually drift. Anyways, I want to talk about performance, and it's great. It is definitely, in my opinion, the best mobile processor out in the market right now. It's also coupled with 3 gigabytes of RAM. Now, when it comes to gaming, absolutely no lag in any game, no frame rates dropped by any means as well. Obviously, it only has to power a 1080p display as well, so not necessarily a 1440p, which helps with performance and battery life as well, it only having to power that 1080p display. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some multitasking, of course, with that 3 gigabytes of RAM. So there's a couple ways to activate that recent apps. You can double press that home button and you have your recent apps right here. I'm not a big fan of these cards. It's a little finicky. You can swipe at the bottom as well to actually get through them a little bit quicker. Now, with that being said, you can also 3D touch on the left side of the display and quickly swap between apps. So if you actually press 3D, I don't know if you can 3D touch the top here, probably not. So let's go ahead and switch apps. So if we go to alarms here, maybe go to the App Store, go to games, card games, double tap, swipe over again, go to calculator, maybe one more, maybe snap a quick picture too. So let's go to camera real quick. It loads up, snap a picture, double press, and then let's go back to Asphalt 8. Actually, let's play another game. Let's go ahead and go to this game, which is called Hop, and you'll see I failed. And let's go back to Asphalt 8. So you'll see multitasking has been so quick, going in and out of apps, and it does a good job at keeping the game in the background. It didn't have to reload the game. Honestly, Apple has just really optimized their hardware and software because they can do that, because this is the only device that they have. That is the biggest thing about their hardware and software, is that they can optimize them together and they can keep them updated in a timely fashion all at once as well. So I've been very pleased with performance, very pleased with multitasking as well. And it's really no stuttering, no lag whatsoever. It's really been a great overall experience. Now, moving along, let's talk about software, and specifically iOS 10, because that is the latest right now. And when it comes down to it, this is a big part for me because, of course, I usually use Android. And there's definitely things I like about the software, and there's things I don't like as well. So to start, of course, there's no app drawer. You'll see you have all your apps right here. So folders are actually a big deal. I have a Google folder right here for a bunch of Google apps. Also, you have an option for widgets right here, which is a nice addition. You can't customize them within apps. You'll see they have suggestions. You can, of course, show more, show less. You can get rid of specific ones. You can edit these and add specific ones from apps as well. This news one's pretty good. See, you have a weather one, your parked car, some stocks, quick search, and that's where you see your date as well. And you also can activate that on the lock screen, as I showed earlier. You have them right there. Now, to be honest, the biggest thing I don't like about this operating system is the notification system. So you swipe down from the top to get to your notifications. You swipe up to get to your control center, which I like. I actually kind of like them separate. I don't necessarily want the controls up at the top, and you can kind of choose, I want to see my notifications, or I need to control something. So I do kind of like that. So now let's talk about Notification Center. It's bad. It really is. There's just no way around it. First of all, you cannot categorize your notifications, and you'll see if I have maybe 6 emails that I haven't seen yet, they're all right here, they're all separated. Even if you use the Mail app, you'll see I'm using the Gmail app. And of course, if you want to get rid of them, you have 2 options. You can swipe over and hit clear, or of course you have a clear all button right here. Now, with that being said, I wish you could 3D touch on a notification. You'll see I did that right there. All it gives me is an X, archive, and reply. I wish there was an option that just said clear all Gmail notifications. That would solve it for me, but there's not. So if you want to, and you'll see it, and it's in a timeline. You cannot categorize them. If I get a text at this time, that text would be slotted right in there in between all of these Gmail notifications. So if I see I have a couple texts, I want to see them in my notifications, but I'm cluttered with all these Gmail. And then, of course, if you want to hit clear all, it's going to get rid of all of them. So that is just one thing I really don't like. Now, this clear all button, you can tap twice to clear, or you can actually 3D touch on it and hit clear all notifications if you'd like to. But notifications aren't all bad. Now, you'll see I'm in an app right now, and I can actually pull down and act upon that notification, specifically this messaging one. So I can quick reply, say hi, back out of it, and I'm in that app. So I don't even need to leave the app to actually act upon that notification, which has been great. Of course, you can also just swipe up on notifications, and then they're still in your notification center if you would like to go to them later. Now, of course, when I go to my notification center, if I have a text right here, I can go ahead and clear it, or I can 3D touch on it, and it brings up that specific message as well. So 3D touch actually comes into play with those notifications as well. And of course, the developer can kind of customize what 3D touching does. Gmail, you'll see only archive and reply, and it doesn't even expand the email specifically. However, if you use the Mail app, it does a little bit better job. Now, quickly, I want to talk about Control Center. Like I said, I do like being able to swipe up from the bottom, and then there's another music controls as well. So you can switch it to casting if you want to play it on your Apple TV, which I do not have, so I was not able to try out an Apple TV, but they do have music controls right here. Then, of course, you have Night Shift. I don't know if it needs that big of a button, to be completely honest. You have AirDrop, AirPlay, and then, of course, you have your flashlight, which, interestingly enough, has settings where you can go with low light, medium light, or bright light. And, of course, me 3D touching on it as well. You have a timer, so you can quickly set timers as well, which is great when you're cooking. You have a calculator as well, so you can copy a last result or quickly go into that calculator like I just did. And as I mentioned earlier, all of those quick shortcuts for your camera. And then, of course, you have your airplane mode, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, do not disturb, and rotate. And 3D touching on those does absolutely nothing. So 3D touch on the top icons does not quickly go into that setting. Real quick, something I do have to mention is that it does not have a back button, and that is annoying sometimes when you're in a specific app. So you'll see, for example, Gmail. If I swipe to the left, because that's sometimes how you can go back in an app, it switches email. So they didn't implement that correctly. So you have to go all the way to the top and press inbox. You can actually double tap, not press, you just have to lightly tap it, and it brings the display down, so then you can go back to your inbox. But overall, just annoying in specific apps that it does not have a back button. Something I also want to mention, I haven't activated it, is iMessage, and flat out, it is a great addition to owning an iPhone. Definitely a huge plus, especially if you are out of the country. You can still use iMessage, it just uses your data to send messages between iPhones. And of course, you can use it on your laptop. So seamless integration, iMessage. It's great, fantastic. They added a lot of additions this year. I just haven't used it because when you switch back to an Android device, if you're in a group message with only iPhone people, they all need to delete that message, that group, from their phone before they can send a group message. I just don't get them because they think my phone's still an iMessage phone. So with that being said, there's also FaceTime, which is integrated into the operating system, so you can quickly go ahead and send video calls and video chats, just kind of like Duo's trying to do with Google, but they don't integrate it in the system. It's a completely separate app. Whereas this is integrated in the system, so if you own an iPhone, you have FaceTime, and you can just simply use it. And 3D Touch has gotten better and better. There's just a lot of ways that you can actually use 3D Touch, whether you're in Apple Music or you'll see in folders I have notifications, but I don't want to go into that folder to see what I have notifications on. So you 3D Touch on it, you'll see I have 4 notifications from Hangouts. 3D Touch on it, you see 2 Instagram, 1 Messenger, and then you can tap on it and quickly go into that app. Great addition to 3D Touch, and just 3D Touch continually got better. It's not necessarily where it needs to be, and then of course developers can actually integrate it into their apps. If I go to Apple Music and I want to go to New Music and I want to go ahead, shout out to my friend Max actually for hooking this up and letting me try out Apple Music. I can 3D Touch on specific songs and it brings up information about it, and just I can activate, add it to library, share the song, and love or dislike it as well. Now, something about notification counter, it's nice that they have a badge icon on the apps. However, if you're in an app, they don't show up. So I don't necessarily know up top on Android, it shows, hey, I have a text message or I have an email. It doesn't show that anywhere on the display. So unless you're on your home screen, you really don't necessarily know if you have a notification. Of course, you can just pull down the notification center and see that. But just glancing at your display while you're in an app, you can't see what notifications you do have. And of course, with the iPhone, you have Siri. Hey Siri, who won the Blackhawks game last night?
The Blackhawks were defeated by the Predators yesterday.
As you can see, comes back with the right results. Unfortunately, the Blackhawks didn't win. Let's go ahead and ask it something. How are you doing today?
Excellent.
There you go. So you see you can actually talk with Siri, and of course there's nothing crazy different about it from the past, but it is just a nice addition where you press and hold the button to activate it, and now you can use it with your display off. Hey Siri, what's the tallest building in the world?
Let me have a look.
And you see Burj Khalifa gives you the 2,717 feet. So nice results as well. So Siri works pretty well. I do like it. I don't know if I necessarily like it more than Google Now or Google Assistant, I guess, in the near future, but it is a great addition, and it has consistently gotten better over time. And to finish off, I want to give some final thoughts on the iPhone 7 Plus. And overall, it is a great device. It's very premium. It's very well made. The hardware is fantastic. The camera is great. One of the best out there as well. Battery life is great. One of the downsides is the display. Don't know why they only use the 1080p display. However, with that being said, it does help with battery life, helps with performance as well, because performance is fantastic. Really no slowdowns ever. And to me, the software has its upsides and its downsides as well. It is great that you do get updates right away. All the devices, they do stay updated pretty consistently. When it comes down to it, I don't know if it's enough yet for me to switch over to an iPhone as my daily driver. I think I'm going to go back to Android this time. So no, it hasn't switched me yet, but it's getting very close. In terms of hardware, great. Really, the only downside is those few minor things with the iOS 10, and then also, of course, the display could be a little bit better, at least higher resolution. And overall, I would recommend the iPhone 7 Plus. It is really a great device. You really can't deny that. It has some really great aspects, including that camera, that battery life. Just overall, been very pleased while using this device. Just not going to use it as my personal daily driver. It's just a personal opinion of mine. But I will still hold on to it. I may or may not do videos in the future of it as well. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to or not. And that's about it. So that's my full review on the iPhone 7 Plus. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Click that thumbs up. You can subscribe to me as well. Lots more coverage coming on just phones and other awesome tech stuff. Actually, something right here coming up pretty cool next to me. I'll show that off in a little bit. Anyways, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it.